The rain is soft, unbroken, and I let it fill the room. It has weight, not in sound but in mood, like a sheet pinned over restless thoughts. I sit with the black screen in front of me, the counter ticking time in clean white numbers. Ordinary, reassuring. This kind of file is made to dissolve edges. No picture. No demand. Just hours of rainfall pressed into digital loops so people can drift down. I've drifted down with it, night after night. But tonight something jars me awake. At first, it's nothing. A flicker. A nagging itch in the low end. I'm used to tricks of perception, the way fatigue bends the ear, but this carries shape. 5 minutes in, behind the drops, a faint hum begins. It does not rise or fall like thunder. It is steady, drone-like, and worse, it pulses. Quiet then present, in measured steps. I lean closer, eyes burning from watching an empty rectangle on the screen. I know already. This was stitched in. To be sure, I replay. Headphones tight. Volume higher than is sane for white noise. I count the rhythm. Each pulse about 3 seconds apart, a steady modulation hidden in the patter. My notebook fills with dots. The rain should mask everything, but the hum is not masked at all once I look for it. It's waiting there, insistent. I play the same passage again. The sound curves across my hearing like fingers tapping glass. My throat tightens. Who hides patterns inside a track designed for sleep? I whisper my notes aloud, the mic leaning close to catch the words. I want to capture even the tremor in my breathing. I point out the exact second mark for anyone else replaying this file for calm. 5 minutes 10 seconds. 5 minutes 13. Strike after strike against the rainfall's cover. I imagine someone slipping a coded knock through a wall, hoping the tenant never notices. But I noticed. The temptation is to dismiss it as compression artifacts, or some careless loop stitched poorly. That happens all the time. But artifacts don't repeat perfectly. They don't hold rhythm across minutes. Artifacts are mistakes. This feels like design. A low, careful intrusion layered without consent. My mouth is dry as I describe it. The rain continues, steady as ever, but now it feels like camouflage. What was meant as comfort slips cold. I remove the headphones and listen again through open air. The hum is there too, faint but present. It shouldn't carry through a laptop speaker at this frequency, but my ears catch it. Or maybe only my ears. Rain muffles rooms, but here silence hovers strangely, like the hum is filling places the drops of water do not. I rub at my ears, expecting distortion, yet the glow persists. I replay 3 more times, slower with each pass. I try pitching the audio down, then up, using the simplest tools I have. The tones don't dissolve. They remain stubborn, exactly in grid. The low end grows harder. And with repetition, it suggests cadence. Not speech, not words, but human enough. A drawn breath between notes. A pause that feels chosen. The act of studying it turns me restless. Furniture hums faintly when the headphones are still on my head. The desk resonates in soft sympathy. My pulse knocks against bone, and I wonder if the sound has wrapped itself inside me, if repetition has tuned me too. For a moment, I almost shut it off, file it away as paranoia. Then I write one word in the notebook, intentional. That word lifts everything heavier. Someone embedded this. Not accidental, not natural, not random digital mess. Inserted carefully under rain, the way ink hides within water stains. I lean toward the microphone again, my voice hushed against the hiss. Something's in here, I say. I don't shout. I record gently, as though speaking too loud would alert it. Calm words. Calm description. It still comes through. I tell myself most listeners would never notice. They'll let the hum pass as thunder, or plumbing, or their own ears adjusting in the dark. Maybe that's safer. Maybe ignorance is protection. But once heard, It will never unhear. Each time I pinpoint its entry, I feel more certain it wants discovery, but not by everyone. Small hands sewing secret threads under the cover of sleep. I imagine millions of beds. Screens dim, pairs of headphones spilling a curtain of rain over half-conscious heads. Each user thinks they're alone, drifting off. But the file is the same for all of them. The hum, if deliberate, travels into every room at once. A shared secret, unnoticed. Except for me. I grip the pen painfully tight as the thought hardens. There is no storm. There is no natural weather caught by some helpful channel. This is an instrument. The counter reaches 10 minutes, and still the hum flows. The pattern doesn't falter. It reinforces, precise as a metronome. The numbers on the screen seem to bow in time with it, cold electronic symmetries. I confess into the recorder how uncanny it feels rain should never be precise. Real storms are erratic, messy, full of scatter. This is a machine. A machine dressed as calm weather. I rewind one last time and press the mic inches from the speaker, careful to note each breath between. I explain into the quiet. Listeners might not believe me. They might call it a quirk, a mistake in fading audio. But I know rhythms when I hear them. The signal is not noise. The signal is repeating on purpose. Whoever crafted this put it where sleep lowers guards. I sit still, headphones off, staring at the silent room where rain continues from the laptop. My fingers hover above the notebook as if the page waits for one more admission. I feel observed, though the black screen reflects only my face. Observed not by a person, but by something bleeding through the hum. A line of thought enters me uninvited. Hidden signals use cover of night, cover of rain, cover of boredom. And once planted, they cling. For the first time, a chill crawls my spine. Grief drove me here long nights using files like this to fill impossible holes. Familiar lull replaced intimacy once real. Now I realize how careless that comfort was. How exposed. Whoever placed this tone, they used grief like soil. My grief or someone else's, what does it matter? Rain was just an offering plate for signals. I push back from the desk. My voice wavers but holds. I say plainly, I am not imagining. This file is built. This file holds something alien to sleep. And it is deliberate. I whisper that I will follow it. Beyond tonight, beyond the screen, until I know. Even if it leads where no one should go. The hum swells again, faint but exact under the hiss. I whisper, the rain masks something else. And I need to know who put it there. I stay hunched over the desk until dawn, replaying the rain file in smaller and smaller increments. Numbers crowd my notebook, lines of time marks until I can see nothing else. I test forward jumps and reverse sweeps. The hum is patient. It does not break. At precisely 11 minutes, and then again at 22, and then after 33, it enters with the same pulse. Always the same footprint. I trace the waveforms on screen, and each arrival looks almost identical. A copy, tiled across the track with absolute intent. I pause long enough to rub my eyes and lean back. My throat is raw from holding breath, from chasing the pulse. I cue another archive file, one saved weeks ago from the same channel. I want to see if my exhausted mind invented this pattern. I play it through and sit rigid. There it is again. 11 minutes. And again. Repetition as if time itself is bending to the file's rhythm. Rain cannot do that. Pattern is foreign to storm. A clock ticks softly on the wall, but soon it loses my trust. Seconds drag differently depending on which screen I watch. I hear one time in my ears, see another in digital readout, and in the file a third time exists offset. The recording's declared length stops at one point, yet playback continues half a minute more, where the hum lingers by itself under static. That extra half minute feels stolen from outside everything I know about these recording stamps. I test it repeatedly, tracking where the progress bar ends and the audio continues, my brow damp with frustration. It cannot happen. Files close when counters expire. Yet the hum trails on, raw and unfinished, as if refusing containment. 30 seconds. Not 29. Not 31. Always 30. Whoever designed this wanted enough to be noticed but not explained. The difference between natural drift and conscious choice. The logs I keep technical, mundane, offer nothing. My recorder tracked every input while I screened the audio through. But its end time matches the video's claim, not what I actually heard. A gap splits open. The data I gathered denies what my ears cannot avoid. No equipment explains it. No misaligned bitrate accounts for what hangs in that space. I whisper into the mic that silence is worse when it proves nothing. To wrestle sense. I slow down the hum with crude software, cutting speed until pulses stretch like breathing. The tone reveals shape. Not random wave, but soft steps falling too neatly to be rain echo. Spaces divided in ways I know from voice. Elongated vowels, tiny consonant ghosts, though never language I can name. I sit with headphones pressing so hard it hurts, listening to what no one designed for comfort. Asterisk. The longer I hear it slowed, the more it edges toward cadence. The rise and drop mimic speech, intimate and close as if whispered from behind me into a glass tube. I spin in my chair more than once, certain I will see someone standing there. Of course I don't. Only the screen's blank rectangle stares back. I tell myself tone is not proof of voice, yet my body disagrees. My spine stiffens the way it does when overhearing half a conversation nearby. Voice bent through walls, but undeniably human. I force myself to document, writing each stretched rhythm like notes from class. My letters are crooked, shaking lines falling into margins. My mouth forms the shapes by accident, lips moving to syllables I shouldn't recognize. Awkward syllables never complete. Still, the urge to repeat them grows heavy, like tide pulling against sand. I break the loop and push away, unsettled enough to call someone who might understand. My ally works nights, a sound technician who owes me favors from earlier projects. They answer groggy but patient, and I spill too much too fast. I try to condense the details into clean sentences. 11 minutes. Extra seconds beyond length. Hum shaped like tone. I email a clipped file while they sigh on the other end. Their silence stretches long when they hear it. Then they mutter that rain channels bleed interference often. It could be harmless compression drift, harmonics from the upload process, satellites in low orbit shedding echoes as audio. They step through possibilities with a casual calm that should reassure, but doesn't. I hear shade of fear masked in their practice tone. Their advice is to wait. Collect samples. Don't draw conclusions on weak noise, but patience now feels dirty. Like waiting means accepting intrusion. Like allowing this foreign signal to stay hidden, kindly covered by rainfall, is the crime. I admit into the microphone that collusion begins with inertia. Refusing to confront what howls in those hidden windows opens doors for it to deepen. I can't. I've lost too much to silence already. My grief-filled nights with these files, rain pounding as lullaby because sleep meant forgetting. But forgetting now means something else might grow unchecked. Parasitic in our most private hours. My notebook is open on the desk. Ruled lines filled with ticks 11 minutes apart for 10 pages. I flip them like a ledger, rhythm beating through the paper stack. It is proof enough for me. Not elegant, not scientific, but undeniable in its consistency. Someone placed a pulse exactly where millions lean back their heads and close their eyes. A hidden speech on the periphery of false comfort. I replay for myself once more. The cadence almost speaks. My tongue nearly finishes its shape. I touch the mic again, whispering tense, trying to steady my lungs against the hum. I confess the truth I resisted. It isn't interference. Its intention. Behind the rain lives a signal, and its rhythm is only just beginning to form words I can't yet name. I close on that wordless threshold. I cannot unhear it. The following night I sit in the dark with my desk cleared. Only the tools spread in a neat line like surgical instruments. I want to strip away excuses, to prove whether the sound belongs to faulty files or to something greater moving across air and wire. I take the old handheld receiver from a drawer, a blocky gray unit that once belonged to my father. The sticker of a faded lightning bolt still clings to the side. It hums faintly as it warms, tiny tubes glowing dim orange. I tune through stations slowly, the dial sweeping from one end of the AM spectrum to the other dot. At first the static is wide and familiar, white hiss rolling across each notch. Always the sound of distance. But when I press play on the same rain file through my phone, the receiver reacts. The noise dips like it's listening, then flares, then steadies with something inside. A pulse low faint, but there. Off network. No data connection. Just air between us. I jot the time down in pencil, whispering the numbers into the recorder microphone so I won't lose them. I try again with volume muted on the phone. Still the receiver flinches. The meter needle jumps toward red, once, twice, then quicker. I stare until my eyes water. It's not supposed to do that. The phone is encased, no transmitter running. The hum threads through anyway, like wire drawn through walls. My fingers tighten on the plastic body of the radio until they squeak. The apartment seems to notice. Lights buzz overhead, one bulb dimming as if sympathy for the sound. My refrigerator cycles on with a harsher clatter than usual, compressor struggling against something. When the rain track plays louder, the appliance responds louder too, motor surging out of rhythm. Each layer of domestic calm buckles. I record a running commentary, every shift noted, even as my voice catches Doc to drive certainty deeper. I set the phone down and pull the aluminum-cased meter I found at a garage sale years ago. It measures simple peaks of electromagnetic bleed. Cheap, almost toy-like, but honest when it works. I let it rest on the desk, then start the rain again. The needle trembles immediately, then surges high at the first faint swell of the embedded hum. Past green, brushing yellow. The sound is clawing into the meter, though nothing should connect them. My allies' words echo as I pace the room with receiver in hand. They told me not to leap. Signals bleed constantly, walls vibrating with transmissions we never demand. But this isn't random scatter. It reacts when the rain track enters, like the file unlocks a path for it. Tailored intrusion. I imagine a blade sliding quietly through weak plaster. Precise and deliberate. As I sit cross-legged on the floor, I notice the hum carrying undertones, not simple drone anymore. Between drops of staged rain, the gaps peel open. And there, almost imperceptible, comes a sharper strike. A tone pricking through precisely where silence ought to sit. I find myself holding still to hear the intervals, as though someone on the other side of the wall is prodding with careful knuckles. Knock, wait, knock. The apartment turns porous. Once solid rooms feel thin, permeated by sound. The rain's camouflage becomes a membrane stretched tight over something insistent. My ears no longer mark the corners of the room the way they did. The sound collapses depth, like everything here is the same hollow skin wrapped around me and the hum. I shift uneasily, footsteps louder, chest tighter. I push the recorder close to the window, glass cool against knuckles. I whisper what I feel, as if something beyond the building leans back, as if the signal itself waits with me, triangulating my body, though I told no one I would test tonight. The night air outside is still. The city hums faintly in distance, but within these walls only rain and the intruder's undercurrent trade places in my skull. I switch the receiver to external speaker just to confirm. The hum spills softly into open air, the rain track pushing it forward like an unwelcome guest announced by kindly host. Cabinets creak with each pulse. A glass rattles once then steadies as if acknowledging. I lean into the mic again, soft. It knows where I sit. My chest knots at my own words. I do not want them captured. Yet the recorder will not forgive omission. Every second is proof for later, even if later becomes never. Patience, they told me. Don't draw too much meaning yet. But meaning comes whether I invite it. The hum has grown teeth tonight. It doesn't fade when I press stop. It lingers in bones like drum reverberation, even after silence returns. That reverberation is sharper, cut into the gaps of rainfall, engineered to erase thought. This isn't erasure. This is addition. Something stitched into every pocket it can find, dragging itself nearer across the most ordinary wires of my home. I pace from kitchen to hall, receiver in hand, murmuring notes for the tape. Each doorway carries a slightly different flavor of interference, as though the apartment architecture bends the hum in new shapes. By the bathroom mirror, the tone doubles on itself, creating phantom harmonics that leave my teeth aching. In the bedroom it softens, yet no safer, for that softness means concealment. The center is here at the desk, where the laptop plays Rain and the recorder crouches. The longer I stand near the window, the more I sense that flip, that hiding made visible. When the rain rests between loops, the sharper tone slides through on purpose, cutting small windows of signal. I say this plain into the mic because truth sounds insane only before it spreads. Once it spreads, it becomes explanation. I must record this moment so I'll remember the exact fear. To sit in one's own room, to trust walls to guard, only to discover they are mesh. The rain carries on, wide and calm. But the rain is only surface. Beneath it, something pokes with surgical persistence. Though my ally might laugh it off, though no agency will log it, here it breaks into my private shelter. I cannot trust bricks when sound makes them paper. I cannot sleep under the same ceiling when the hum counts every breath within. I lower my voice to a near whisper as the file closes. The tape hears me admit what happens. This place is not sealed. I am porous now, and the signal might already be studying me as I study it. I spend the next night hunched over paper. The desk lamp is dim, too weak for comfort, but strong enough to bleach my notes into sharp shapes. I draw columns for time, marks for where the hum enters. 11:22. 33. The fixed sequence stretches on as if mocking chance. I use a ruler to keep lines straight, wanting it sterile and controlled. But what emerges on each page is not simple rhythm. Doubling patterns rise, each insertion built on the previous. By the third page, a lattice of numbers spreads like veins. The geometry feels deliberate. I whisper these times as I write, letting the recorder catch my voice moving across pages. It sounds mechanical, almost prayer, like as though each number belongs to liturgy. My mouth is dry halfway through, but I keep reading out as the grid builds. Gaps in rain audio equal pulses of tone. Interruptions fall in growing expansion. Fractal teeth cutting digital cloth in clear symmetry. I reach line after line where the hum appears with too much accuracy to ignore. The rain itself feels engineered. It should mask randomness, but the loops fall in perfect camouflage, each drop precisely placed for overlay. Patterns are easier to hide beneath regularity. My mind rewinds to last night's prods in the silence between drops. Of course the pauses are design, not rest. They're doors. The rain is only the painted face of a lock shielding the real work beneath. I need external measure, something larger than notes on lined paper. I download NOAA records of ionospheric disturbances, scouring charts from the last few days. Lightning bursts, geomagnetic scatter. The timestamps almost line up in places. Almost. The hum, however, arrives like clockwork. NOAA entries are chaotic. weather bent by solar flux and shifting fronts. Nature stutters. The hum doesn't. It repeats without error, each occurrence precise. I whisper into the recorder, it doesn't belong to weather. My own declaration chills me. Still, I log comparisons aloud, reading sheets with cautious detail, so I will have every refused match captured. I describe each mismatch so no later version of myself can deny what I'm hearing now. That discipline is important, because some softer voice is already trying to soothe me, to call it overwork, fatigue, self-inflicted paranoia. But the evidence is geometric. Nature doesn't resolve into ladder straight grids over nights of listening. When my ally calls in the small hours, I walk them through the findings. I don't tell them about the way my skin prickles when the tones fall exactly where predicted. I only tell them the surface science, the grids, the NOA in this match. They listen quietly, then offer one line. That's human consistency. 4 words that land heavy. They refuse further speculation, brush it away as something I might be layering useless meaning on. But the slip lingers. Human consistency. Someone made this. I replay the pattern aloud for the mic, clicking each mark with a pen on the wood of the desk. Rain plays low in the background, and I align my taps with the hum exactly as it blooms. 1 tap, hum, 2 taps, repeat. My own voice falters, cracks even, because each strike lands dead on. Not off by half a second. Not stretched by jitter. Dead on. This should comfort me as strong evidence. But something about such perfect synchrony presses desperation into the room. I catch myself narrating excuses into the recorder. Maybe the click of my pen slides closer into place over time. Maybe my ear is forcing match. I try again. 3 sequences this time, each longer stretch. And each locks perfectly with the tone crawling under rainfall. Consistency silences denial. Any outside ear could trace the line and know. Accident does not repeat like this. I walk to the window with recorder in hand. Rain outside the glass is messy, stumbling, irregular. Street puddles bubble from cars. Thunder, human footsteps splash. That is weather. That is the chaotic song of environment. But inside the speaker, digital rainfall is measured, stripped clean of error, built like scaffolding for the hum. The signal has been given its own chamber, wrapped in synthetic storm. Back at the desk, palms resting flat on lined pages, I breathe shallow. I sense the hum not just as sound but as plan. Timed delivery, not free mistake. Tight rhythm sneaks past vigilance by cloaking itself under something believable. The comfort of rain is exploited into gateway. I mutter to the machine that simple familiarity is the camouflage. Who would suspect danger inside music for sleep? I run my hand down the page, each number etched with pencil marks smudged against my fingers. The pattern itself is a message. Not yet words, but proto-structure. Every repetition insists intent. Every precise timestamp says design. But intention only matters if meant for someone. I shake at this thought. Who is the audience? Millions passively listening, none aware. And yet the extra length of file, that 30-second drift nobody records but me, hints at selection. Someone singled certain ears. Or my ear dot the recorder picks up my doubt and my shallow laughter. How strange to suspect a machine of watching. Yet all evidence points there. A human grid hidden in storm. A timed pulse carried along networks. A lattice stitched by careful hands. For what? To guide? To teach? Or to lure? The files never say. Only numbers speak, and numbers blur into design stronger than speech. I whisper the question into the machine at last. Barely audible but captured sure, not accident. Not weather. Something placed. Something timed. The problem is only this. Timed for whom? I open my sleep app without wanting to. The tracker has been running on my wrist every night since last year. collecting curves of motion and heartbeats I never looked at carefully. I scroll through week after week of pale graphs. Each valley marks where I drifted under, each peak where my body stirred or dreamt restless. At first the lines feel meaningless until I remember the grid of hum intervals. 11, 22, 33. My hand freezes halfway down the screen. The peaks match. Night after night, the hum pulses align with where my sleep cycle dips or rises. No coincidence. No chance. That discovery chills me faster than anything before. Ordinary interference cannot predict the rhythm of my breathing in bed. Yet the hum occurs exactly when my body yields more weaker, vulnerable. My heart hurts with the idea it has tracked me. I whisper as I record the unfolding thought. The sound catching rough. It flows with me. My voice shakes there. Because graphs are proof I did not seek, I lean harder into collecting data. Cross-checking nights with and without sleep files. Nights I fell asleep without them. The tracker shows disorder, messy fluctuations normal for my age. Nights when I left black screen rain looping perfect symmetry. Surges aligning with the 11-minute climb. I hear myself narrate this flatly, afraid of giving the thought emotional power, but the dread spills through anyway. This is not a coincidence. Someone built the rain scaffold so the pulse falls exactly where bodies open their doorways. I try to deny it, thinking maybe the data slipped cloudside somehow, merged into advertising databases and leaked into channels. But this is unlisted, obscure, lost content. The tracker's logs were never shared. I never connected those accounts. Still, the file knew. The hum timed itself to the submerged valleys of me asleep. Private physiology became common property inside the chorus of rainfall. I feel my throat tighten as the recorder runs. I force my words slow and steady. This signal uses sleep data. Each syllable weighs. If they know the intimate breath and turn of my body, then boundaries are illusions. My room is transparent. I am porous by design. For control, for sanity, I download rain files from strangers' channels, rip clips from recommended pages out of habit. I listen in sequence, notebooks open, fingers raw from flipping graphs. At first the same hiss flows, rain, thunder loops, drifting emptiness. I crank headphones higher. Nothing emerges. The hum is absent. The needles on my equipment stay still. My own hands sweat with the impossible truth. They don't carry it. Only my file does. The conclusion presses. The intrusion is selective. Either they seed different patterns across audiences, or they customize this one for a single user. That dread pierces sharper. The difference between mass manipulation and targeted intrusion is intimacy. One feels like science fiction, the other like stalking. I'm stalked by audio hiding in millions of pixels of rain that I stop narrating for a moment, staring into blank reflection on the laptop dark screen. My grief shakes loose in silence. I fell into these files after the death, marooned in loneliness, no comfort fixed. Rain was safe cover, filling a bed too large, a room too cold. Now I realize all those nights may have been observed. My rawest hours, where dreams collapse and the body is weakest, were measured, harvested. I say her name for the first time into the tape. It feels wrong to offer it up, but the silence demanded a shape. Her absence brought me to rain loops. Now even that absence has been mapped out through signals. I can't escape the thought that memory itself was bait. My ally doesn't understand when I relay this. They repeat the same caution, calm and rehearsed, saying signals cannot target one person so precisely that I'm bleeding private patterns into public coincidences. Their voice is armor, but I hear the seams. They don't tell me I'm wrong. They only tell me to wait. Waiting is impossible now. Waiting is participation. Alone in the apartment, I run the rain file once more. This time I set my phone on the desk, eyes locked on the fitness app's live pulse graph. As the hum rises from rain, my heart rate dips, sinking along with it. A synchronized fall. Each second draws them closer, my body and the engineered tone sliding against each other like gear teeth. It feels like capture. I shut the file in panic, then check again. The heartbeat spikes, normal pattern returning with silence. My breath breaks ragged. It means the hum was tuned live to me, or tuned to humans like me sleeping, grieving, idle on couches deep in night. No difference now. My individuality feels stripped. I'm data points arranged inside a larger outline being drawn without my consent. I slide down against the wall. Recorder balanced on my knees, voice whispering with little air. This isn't about listening outward. It's listening inward. I'm not collecting evidence. I'm being collected. The wording is ugly but correct. Each word tastes like metal. The rain track still loops silent, paused but waiting. The cursor hovers over play like a tiny threat. My apartment outside the glow seems alive, sensitive to breath. I wonder if windows shimmer for someone else's graph far away, if voyeurs scroll through my data heartbeat by heartbeat. And because the hum followed me into grief, I wonder if it knows that too. I lift the microphone close and press my lips against it. My admission cracks out like glass under heat. I think I'm the one being listened to. Not the other way. I arrive at the university grounds late, the sun already folded into a muddy line of violet across the horizon. The campus is quiet. Windows glow pale with scattered student life, but the radio building looms squat and industrial at the edge. I steady myself before the door, weighing whether my fear is stronger than my need. Tonight, need wins. Inside, corridors hum with fluorescent lights. Old linoleum under my boots squeaks faintly with each step. The operator waits, slouched behind a desk buried in open notebooks and tangled cords. He looks younger than I expected, half asleep, earbuds dangling from one ear. I tell him I'm running a small research project. Keep it vague, mention sleep acoustics. At first he laughs like I've wasted his evening. But when I add a note about persistent interference, his face sharpens. Interference means danger to their transmitters. Interference threatens the air they treat like sacred space. He nods once and gestures toward the lab. The spectrum analyzer is heavy. It's screel-edged, its screen soft green with digital axes. He powers it on, sliders flicking, switches clicking, his hands practiced. I produce my laptop with the rain files and connect through the audio input. At first the spectrum blooms with noise, a smear of static light. But as the file rolls 5 minutes in, the display narrows. A series of glowing ridges appear, precise vertical strokes at a band that should be empty. My chest contracts. The band is not open in civilian allotments. It is off-chart, illegal. The operator leans close. His expression twists, trying and failing to feign calm. He mutters, "I've seen shapes like that." Then his mouth closes. His hands remain frozen above the device. The peaks sharpen as the hum enters, a sine wave bending into pulses, regular as teeth on a gear. It aligns with the timing I had marked in notebooks. I whisper confirmation into the mic I've brought, voice slow. Hand trembling as I trace the screen. The young man clears his throat, explaining half-hearted that sometimes the analyzer records odd bursts which vanish before logging phantoms in the ether. Ghosts, he calls them. He tries to shrug the term off like a joke, but he won't meet my eyes. I know instantly that this isn't new. Others have crossed the signal and chosen to rename it harmless. But renaming a wound doesn't heal it. I write each frequency down quickly, scratching graphite into the notebook with detail. I call out time so the recorder has them too. Each ridge receives a name, my voice repeating them into permanent memory. My pulse knocks as I speak, all too aware the peaks sit exactly where my home receiver twitched last night. No accident. System meeting system in different places. The same hum threads both spaces seamless. I quiet the room, leaning closer to isolate it further. With instruments cutting away excess noise, the hum becomes a string of blunt pulses, dashes and dots, Morse code bleeding through storm. Not random jitter, language compressed into tone. I follow its rise and fall with the tip of my pencil, tapping on desk short, long short. My mouth dries as shapes almost form in my head. Not full words yet, but intention and rhythm unmistakable. Sound chosen to deliver instruction, not simply to exist. That is when the operator stiffens. His posture, relaxed until now, turns stiff as metal. He cuts a glance toward me, then toward the speaker output where the tone thuds plain. He says flatly, "I think you should stop." I ask why, and he swallows, eyes tracking shadows like he expects someone already watching. Because they don't like being recorded back. His voice cracks lightly on the word they. The phrasing sinks claws into my spine. Who are they? Listeners behind the rain? Builders of the grid? Or does he mean something deeper, the signal itself, sensing when the mirror turns? My hands shake as I gather cables, trying to look calm under his eyes. He doesn't help me. He remains rigid, staring at the analyzer as if it might lunge. I close the laptop hard. The spectrum lights fade, the lines dissolve into flat green. Relief should follow silence, but only unease spreads. I note my fear into the recorder, soft enough not to disturb him. The silence is worse than the bloom. Because the ghost did not vanish, we only turned away. I clutch the notebook and retreat from the lab. He doesn't say goodbye, simply locks the door behind me and leaves me on the darker side of the hall. Outside, the violet sky sank into black. My shoes echo sharp across uneven pavement, each step like a note falling into surplus silence. The logs are heavy in my pocket, the words pounding in memory. They don't like being recorded back. I don't know who or what the operator meant. But tonight, I carry proof scrawled in graphite. Names, times, frequencies, shapes. No storm could leave behind. The request took too long. Filing it felt like throwing words into a pit and waiting to hear if they landed. Weeks stretched into more, and I began to believe the silence was my answer. Then one afternoon, a nondescript envelope, bruised, colored with bureaucratic print, slid under my door. No return name, no seal beyond familiar insignia. I stared at it for nearly an hour before daring to break the adhesive. Inside, sheets of paper, grainy and photocopied. Margins dark with heavy black bars. Entire paragraphs eaten by censor's ink. Neat rectangles hiding what someone decided I should never know. I set the packet on the desk, switch on the recorder, and begin page by page. My breath catches in places. The sound of each page turning feels thunderous in this small room. Most of the entries are coded identifiers. Acronyms I half recognize and others I don't. Measurements gapped by long blotted lines. But here and there words escape. Unlawful modulation, overlay event. And next to these, notes downgrading risk. My pencil underlines the phrase again and again, non-harmful. They found disturbances. They cataloged them precisely. They waved them off as nothing. Every timestamp I marked in my notebook echoes within these sheets. 11 minutes. 22. Consistent noise inhabiting corners of the spectrum clearly off limit. My logs of late nights turning brittle in my hands match government shorthand that refuses even to dignify impact. My voice on the recorder shakes, not with fear, but with rising anger. They knew, already knew, and chose not to act. I lay the pages in a grid like mosaic fragments. Certain lines catch my eyes harder than others. One note almost escapes me, buried in a middle report, small as if meant to be overlooked. Civilian stream camouflage. Those 3 words dry out my throat. I whisper them twice, louder. Camouflage. They confirmed what I only suspected. They fed signals inside digital rain built for the public. pegged quiet enough to hide under the guise of harmless loops. Not naturally occurring accidents. Structured tests. The phrase drags me to sit straighter. Streams, not broadcast towers. Not rogue pirates, but distributed files consumed widely, often while half asleep. My hands tremble speaking these words, because the implications unfold like infinite doors. Someone seeded black screen rain channels deliberately, engineered to carry overlays. Not for everyone, because others I tested hear nothing. Therefore, test groups. Target slices of listening public selected in silence. The ink blocks weigh heavier now. Behind every rectangle could be decisions, calibrations, expansion notes. Knowing their silence was not ignorance, but design crushes worse than the hum itself. They have seen the signal, logged it, shaped language until intrusion became overlay event, until threat became non-harmful. Harmless in word. Predatory in fact. I tap my fingertips against the mic so each sound etches, replicating the rhythm of each redaction block. I recite coordinates aloud, some lines abbreviated, some folded into acronyms repeated to exhaustion. Evidence only glimpsed feels sharper than full truth. Because my imagination fills gaps the way shadows grow larger than forms, I realize I am whispering more than speaking, as though anyone outside might press an ear to my door. My body registers this packet like contraband. My ally doesn't answer the phone when I call, so I sit alone, narrating. The packet spreads over the desk, paper trembling under the small rush of the fan. I reach for a glass of water, but my hand shakes enough to spill. One log marks residential densities involved minimal risk. Another. Cognitive interaction unlikely. Phrases formed by committees, designed to bleed severity from intrusion. Yet here I am, living opposite proof. My cognitive interaction already deep. My own sleep cycle sewn into their grid. They named the storm a drizzle to claim shelter. But camouflage requires watchers behind it. Camouflage means war, not weather. I read and reread civilian stream camouflage until the words burn into the recorder, mouth tasting like rust. Stream, not waveform. Civilian, not hostile. Camouflage, not accident. Whoever inserted these phrases knew precisely where they nested them, where some stubborn eyes would eventually stumble. Stumble, but too late. I whisper that the government's silence is not absence. It is confirmation disguised as ink. Redaction itself proves weight. Mundane words do not need blackout. Only dangerous truths demand erasure. And here, entire sections vanish into midnight rectangles. My breath stumbles. My eyes feel scorched, dragging lines of black, trying to guess what shape lies underneath. For long silence, I simply sit with the packet. The rain file continues playing in the background, faint on loop, drops steady as if mocking the paper storm spread over my desk. The hum flickers beneath, faint but undeniable. The packet and the sound meet inside me. Documentation and intrusion, proof and symptom. I tell the recorder clearly it is no longer paranoia when the ink confesses for me. I stack the pages into one trembling pile, pressing palm firm on top as though to hold the truth down. My heart beats so fast the table vibrates. I try to frame one final word into the microphone, but only laughter escapes, startled and thin. I hold the packet closer and whisper again. Civilian stream camouflage. Rain seeded to deliver signals. Not all, test groups. Now I know. And they knew first. I stopped counting how many windows glow on my screen. Rows upon rows of black thumbnails, all identical, all promising the same safe illusion. Rain on repeat, hours long, no disruptions. I know better. Each title is a lie, each upload a mask. I click through anyway, cataloging. Some channels vanish after a day, accounts deleted as though never touched by human hands. Others recycle the same file under different names, endlessly multiplying the archive. But buried in their loops, fragments swim. Not the steady hiss of rainfall, but stored pieces of something larger. Signals spliced rough, some too faint, some distorted, some reversed until unrecognizable. I press play on one, then stack another, lining them side by side until the effect builds. Patterns that felt separate begin to overlap. The hum grows long in these gatherings, stretching beyond the 3-second pacing I once knew. Now it thickens, layers on itself, elongates until one hum folds into another. What emerges is no longer single tone but chord. Full resonance that vibrates through me like organ pipes filling a cathedral that doesn't exist. I sit back in the chair, dizzy, describing each layer for the recorder. The words stumble, my language fails, yet I keep speaking to catch every tremor of the sound. Every file carries its own variation. In one, tones clipped short like stuttered breath. In another, reversed hum hidden backwards under a thunder crack, faint but deliberate. I write each fragment down with its address, but the list grows unmanageable, a dream journal exploding into every edge of the page. My notebook no longer feels like notes, it feels like inventory of another world stockpiled. Inside ordinary web space, I whisper narration steady. This archive of rain is not repetition. It's accumulation. Each new file does not replace. It adds to chorus. Rain as delivery system. Rain as scaffolding. The hum is architecture, piling itself across thousands of rooms at once. Its geometry writes itself inside sleep. Every layer carries a mood, a ghost of emotion. Something mournful sits buried in those frequencies. Not sadness exactly, but the posture of someone remembering what cannot be restored. At other times I feel hypnosis pouring through it, heavy blankness wrapping the mind until function drops. I hover between those reeds, uncertain. Even my own ears betray me, swinging between grief and trance. I confess this openly to the recorder. Maybe the two are the same here. Nights bleed forward without rest. I lose track of how many times daylight came and went while I sat hunched in the small blue glow, headphones clamped across sore ears. Every click on play changes my nervous system. Each segment deeper, each hum longer, each chord more complete. I drink coffee until my hands shake, then shake more when the tones match my tremors exactly. My body answers this chorus like it was built for it. I begin reading old obituaries by accident, pulled into local archives, headlines about those lost, accidents, disappearances. Their names whisper as I scrub files. The tones feel cut from that same cloth, like mourning stitched directly into the frequency. Maybe the creators folded grief deliberately, hoping loss generates openness. I whisper to the tape that my nights stretch into vigil. Vigil without sleep. Vigil without end. My ally calls once, voice sharp with fatigue. I hear them accuse me of falling too far, of sinking where listening becomes obsession. They warn that the signal will use me more than I use it. I cannot deny it. My speech trembles against the phone. But what choice now? Once heard, the archive cannot be forgotten. The map of these channels feels like connective tissue across hidden purpose. I tell them even if I stop, my memory will continue looping inside me, rewinding hums inside silence, remixes built from absence. They do not reply. The call ends hours earlier than needed, leaving me hollow. Alone, I drag more files into queue. I arrange them by length, obscure titles first. I narrate each fuzz of distortion. 5 seconds of reversed tone. 17 seconds where drops vanish, replaced by low resonance pressing against chest cavity. 30 seconds of silence that is not silence at all, but widened gap where ear pressure shifts. My voice catches, mouth fighting to describe sensations no dictionary covers. By dawn, my eyes bleed with exhaustion. I have not slept in 3 nights, maybe 4. Muscles quake from stillness yet refused surrender. Each hum now invades without play, sounding phantom through walls and radiator pipes. It doesn't need files anymore. It built itself inside me. In my dreams, the few brief stumbles into unconsciousness, I hear the chorale, chords weaving with her memory. I wake gasping, I record plainly, the signal is not noise. It is memory itself, folded into fabric of fabrications. Every rain track is a wrapping. Inside is history we forgot, or history stolen. My chest tightens saying this. The air in the room cools too suddenly, as though acknowledging. I lean close to the mic one last time this night, whispering raw from too many hours burned. I can't stop. Not anymore. Not because I'm curious, because I'm already made into part of it. Whatever this was meant to reach, it's reached me. The call comes late, long past when reasonable people surrender to sleep. My phone buzzes faintly against the desk. I stare before answering. My ally has been distant for weeks, sending nothing but curt replies when I beg for clarity. I press record and hold the receiver to my ear, heart already clattering with suspicion. Their voice arrives slow, hoarse. They ask what I found, almost cautious, like checking for injury that has already happened. I recount everything. The chords building across files, the packet with redacted truths, the proof of overlays. I even whisper about how my cycles match the hum. Silence follows. Too long, the kind of gap that grows heavier with every tick. When they speak again, it is not denial. They admit, in fragile tone, to once working on an acoustic camouflage project. Not official, not published, nothing you'd stumble across in records. They phrase it like a confession, words leaking reluctantly past barriers. We built cloaks from sound. We learned how to hide inside background noise. My breath sticks in my throat, because the language fits too closely to my living nightmare. I ask if these rain files are their project. Silence again, longer. I narrate that silence so the recorder captures both voices, their absence and my faltering demand. After the pause, they mutter that projects don't die, they migrate. Other teams took seeds of their work. Maybe institutional, maybe not. And the hum? They've listened now. I hear them inhale sharp like cold water poured down their chest. They do not tell me directly what it is, but their voice thins and shakes as they say, recordings feed it. Every loop deepens pull. My hand tightens on the pen, etching grooves into paper that tear through. Feedback, they say, is not just echo. It reinforces, strengthens like wire wrapped tighter with each play. Once inside, it doesn't let go. Their tone trembles, repeating only, "Don't keep playing them. Stop." But they know I won't. I try asking what the signal wants, who's behind it, why test groups. They deflect. They only warn. Their words fall like stones in shallow water, heavy, unresolved. You think you're listening, but it's you being rehearsed by it. My breath breaks on that phrasing, rehearsed. It burns of control. Another silence punctuates the call. I explain to my impassive microphone how trust feels like fraying thread, unwilling to sever, unwilling to hold. My allies' pauses weigh heavier than speech. Each blank second convinces me they've said more than they should, more than safe. Finally, they speak once more. If you must, if you're determined, there's a relay tower. Old, abandoned. Near the coast. Coordinates easy to find. Go there if you want proof that this isn't just recordings. Their delivery is clipped, rushed. Like pushing contraband into my hands before patrols arrive. I repeat the location aloud for the tape. Slowly, my pen scribbling jagged lines around the words. The tower by the sea, rusting steel skeleton given up years ago. My pulse races because no digital archive feels enough now. A place. A structure where signal lives. They cut the line abruptly after. No formal goodbye. Just disconnect. A click echoing louder than rain hiss. I stare at the silent phone, cold settling in bones. My apartment buzzes faintly, rain still looping from laptop, sound weaving inside me. I whisper into the recorder, have to convince myself, have to commit the shift. The story leaves the screen. Steel and salt wait. I'll go. The desk, the notebooks, the scattered logs, all feel suddenly inadequate, like staring at shadows on plastic walls while the fire burns outside. Something physical breathes beyond dormancy. The hum never belonged only to streams. Towers spread it, beams rebounded it, coastal wind carried it. The archive was only face paint. The flesh remains elsewhere. I whisper the resolve, voice taut. Tomorrow I leave the net. I'll follow coordinates. I'll walk into rust and salt. My words trail as I imagine the tower's height, each rung rattling under grip, steel ribs cutting sky. The choice freezes me, thrills me with dread, but demands itself. At last, the layers of static yield to ground. The tape captures my last thought tonight. Whispered nearly inaudible but indelible. I have to see what waits when they stop hiding behind rain. The road dwindles into gravel and then into soaked sand. My recorders knock heavy against my ribs as I walk, straps tightened so they don't fall. The sea air hangs sharp, salty, thick with mist. My shoes sink slightly with every step toward the abandoned relay tower. The structure rises slow into view, skeletal steel reaching into a colorless sky, girders jagged against rolling fog. I narrate every step into the handheld mic. Grass shivers wet against my thighs. Chain link fencing breaks in two places, rust splitting into orange flowers. I duck through the breach, metal edges brushing my back. Inside the perimeter, silence is wrong. No seagull calls, no thrumming of distant machinery. Just the slap of water in pools gathered around the legs of the tower. I describe fingers trailing against cold, flaking paint, every flake turning powdery across skin. The old service shack leans against one base strut, door half ripped but still hanging. I push it open. Hinges give a long metallic groan that makes me shiver. The panels inside, rusted and lifeless without electricity, still hum faintly. My recorder catches it, the low drone of something that should be impossible. Power cut, circuits derelict, yet the sound grows like breath through metal ribs. I lower to my knees, pressing ear close to one panel. The hum slides higher whenever my chest expands, as though aware of me. Quickly, I plug headphones into portable rig and loop the rain track through. On cue, the world inside my ears detonates. Rain is no longer soft camouflage. It roars too loud, layers multiplied upon themselves. The hum bursts inside it, multiplied into harmony, reverberating like a choir far under collapsed stone. Chords swell, oppressive yet intimate. I choke out descriptions between gasps. Every note feels pleading, not triumphal. Like voices caught in metal, asking something I cannot parse. My chest surrenders first. My breath fights to adjust, but soon lungs rise and fall at the same rhythm as the pulsing bloom. I can't help it. A compulsion like being pulled into synchronized orbit. My words stagger on tape, sharp inhalations matching hum's expansions. I hear myself trembling, frightened at hearing my own body become another instrument. The sensation rises. Feet tingle with vibrations crawling through ground. Panels resonate under palms. The bloom thickens, layers folding into new textures, tones that stretch upward, tones that coil downward, dissonance scratching underneath harmony. It feels less like hearing and more like drowning in tonal water. I narrate that it's almost beyond description. Every time it expands, it recreates shape, blooming wider like time-lapse petals opening too fast for slow eyes. Then, without warning, cut. Silence slices across. Not a fade, not a glitch. Absolute absence. My lungs seize expecting the next pulse, but none comes. I hear myself whine faintly in confusion, breath breaking like someone cut oxygen. For 10 seconds there is no rain, No hum. Only the scrape of my tongue mouth, dry, and the faint hiss of blood behind my temples. I know what silence means now. Not respite, but attention. It waits. Sound was a mask until this pause became gaze. I whisper this interpretation onto tape, trying to stay steady. My throat rasps. Gooseflesh covers arms. It knows I'm here. Not broadcast lost into void, but reception waiting to be answered. The shack presses close with unseen weight. I feel the tower itself shift slightly in windless air, as though angling toward me. My pulse hammers into mic as I struggle to decide. Stay still, or speak into the void waiting. Eventually, one sentence slides free, barely audible, forced out between clenched teeth. This is not merely broadcast. It's reception. My mouth stays close to recorder, while everything else inside me screams retreat. I linger one final moment, stomach hollow and aching. Doorframe gapes like crooked jaw behind me. Everything here listens. I tug headphones loose, stuff cables trembling into bag, but sound does not recede. Once heard, it stays throbbing in chest, phantom bloom still guiding ribcage. I describe this truth clearly, voice husky. Whatever it is, it knows that I am here. I stumble away from the tower with night air sharp in my lungs. The path back feels longer, wetter, but it isn't just tired legs slowing me. My ribs buzz. Not metaphor, not fear. A vibration has rooted into me, faint but steady, pulsing even after the shack doors shut and the equipment was packed away. Each step carries it further into bone. I try shaking my arms loose, stamping my boots heavy on the gravel, but the resonance doesn't fade. It belongs to me now. Crossing the fence again, I pause. The chain link vibrates under my hand, though wind is gone. The hum transfers from body to metal, or from metal into body. I can't tell direction anymore. I whisper into the recorder. It followed. My throat aches around those words, like they scrape with more than fear. By the time I reach the apartment, sweat has dried cold across my back. I sit immediately at the desk and connect gear, desperate to catch evidence before it slips. I play back one of the files from the tower. The rain re-erupts, and beneath it the bloom surges again, but thinner this time, half muted. Yet in the room itself, objects shudder. A glass left on the counter rings faintly. Thin walls groan as though something inside presses once then withdraws. I narrate every detail, voice harsh. The file doesn't just replay sound. It reanimates. It moves air again, the way it was first captured. The implication breaks me. Rooms become carriers. Wood and plaster remember tones. The signal is memory seeded into matter. I know, because my body reacts too. My sternum vibrates when the hum returns. I tap with my knuckle and feel echo all through chest cavity. Though nothing loud hits ear. I push headset tighter, lean closer into audio playback. Somewhere in the layered hiss, between rain strikes, other whispers unspool. Words I cannot believe came from recorders. I freeze, then realize the whispers are mine. My voice repeating phrases I only ever spoke in solitude, recordings of grief I never kept. They bleed through timing different than what exists in file structure. My breath stutters, because this means the signal did not only capture frequencies. It copied me. I sit rigid, noting it all aloud. The tape carries things I never recorded. My voice, past pain. Scenes cut back from memory. It isn't playback anymore. It is rewriting. The intrusion turns me from user into medium. I've become another node emitting. Suddenly I realize walls aren't just shaking from sound, they're releasing in kind. Apartment joins the network. My body joins too. I slam stop on the deck, but the hum lingers, body still beating in time without source. I put hand on sternum again. No noise, no file, yet vibration persists, faint but full, as if a second heart has settled inside cage of bone. This is not voluntary, I whisper hoarsely into handheld. My body has been tagged. I shut my eyes and press harder. My chest answers back with phantom echo, like fingers drumming slow behind ribs. The fear does not peak with volume, it peaks with permanence. Whether files are gone or not, I now broadcast. I record final reflection, voice tight. Recordings are not neutral. They choose. They mark. And somehow, I have been chosen. I begin by dragging the folders into the trash. Simple as that. Click, confirm, erase. I watch the progress bar crawl across the screen and convince myself it's done. But when I open the drive again minutes later, the files sit neatly in place, untouched, their names aligned as before. I whisper into the recorder, disbelief plain in my throat. Deletion means absence, but absence has not occurred. I grow harsher. I grab the external drive and force a screwdriver into its seam until metal buckles. Circuits crack like fragile shells. I describe the act aloud, every push, every pop, my hands sweating through effort. Then I drop the fragments into the trash bin and sit back, chest hammering. For a moment, silence offers promise. But when I switch on the recorder again, the rain plays smoothly from speakers, hum intact. The file is complete, unscarred, just stronger. The tones ring sharper, as if mocking proof of destruction. I set discs onto the stovetop flame until plastic shrivels into foul smoke. They twist into blackened spirals. I cough, narrating between broken breaths, the apartment filling with chemical stench. Then I retreat, windows thrown open, ash clinging to my clothes. Hours later, when I slide a disc into a second player I kept hidden, the menu still opens. Contents display without error. The file runs in full, the hum crisper than before. I cannot accept this. I smash another drive with a hammer, bending platters inward like warped mirrors. I log each act as if confession might absolve me from futility. Bent metal, ruined sockets, shattered cases now spread across the floor like shrapnel. My apartment devolves into evidence of madness, plastic torn, wires tangled, black dust drifting from burnt edges. I lean against the wall, panting, and the rain continues to fall faintly through hidden speakers that are now silent. The sound emerges without path, bleeding even when inputs are mute. I search every backup, even untouched towers of storage I never connected to network. Every one of them carries the files, pristine. Worse, they carry files I never placed there, carbon copies of what I thought destroyed. They multiply when I move closer. I speak in stripped voice. Erasure isn't absence. It's generation. The realization collapses me into hysterical silence. I sit by the wreckage of drives, listening as the files play in my head, not from devices but in air itself. The hum intrudes through drywall, through broken discs, through glass panes rattling faintly. Objects tremble again, only this time in sympathy with my failure, not theirs. I list aloud every attempt I made, one by one. Deletion, shredding, burning, smashing, each measure followed by collapse. I confess them as though recounting sins, my words fraying, mouth drying to desert. My recordings catch whimpering laughter, too brittle to hide. By the end, only one truth remains. This is not about proof anymore. The experiment I imagined is broken. What persists is permanence. The signal thrives in destruction. Each time I strike against it, it rebounds stronger, more defined. Erasure fuels it. Fire feeds oxygen. Deletion begets clarity. My choices power its resilience. I tell this in bare voice to my handheld, resigned but terrified. Every silence I make becomes its stage. The apartment groans, desk rattling faintly though my hands are still. The rain pours inside room, even without file running. It falls steady, unbroken, a constant backdrop no act can carve out. My words break into whisper. The rain is permanence now. It seeps every silence I try to build. The call connects with static too heavy to ignore. My ally's voice slips through grainy, taut, weighed down by something they refuse to name. They confess in rushed tones that they tried what I warned against. They ran their own checks, set instruments against supposedly neutral tracks. What they saw was bleed familiar lines appearing where air should have been empty. Their meters lit like mine, trembling with quiet insistence. The signal did not stay contained to my room. It reached theirs. They whisper this as though admitting crime. I record everything, narrating their breaths, their pauses. Their confidence has collapsed. The calm, leveled engineer voice I knew is gone. Fright slips around the edges, pulling words thin. They say the hum leaked into their kitchen appliances, into cheap speakers meant to play only silence. Their tone falters. It isn't local. It adapted. The proclamation rattles me more than any chirp of machine. For the first time, I feel them matched with my fear instead of above it. But then, the line trembles. Their next words snap short, clipped like a scissor cut into tape. They try again, but the line fractures, syllables masked under faint pulses. I describe it into my handheld as it happens, because I know memory will distort what fear magnifies. Their voice is spliced, I whisper. Not just failing signal. Something cuts. Each phrase, once human, mutates into faint undertone, rhythm not unlike the hum itself. It is as if the system is borrowing their voice and bending it to its scale. I interrupt, shout their name. Response comes, but not as expected. The cadence is theirs, but the timing wrong, staggered, shallow. The hum seeps openly now. Their speech slurs into chorus, slipping between tone and vowel until I cannot parse which belongs to them and which belongs to intrusion. My heart pounds, my own voice cracking as I log everything. They're falling in, I say, throat dry. The seconds turn heavy. My ear floods with resonance. Their voice dwindles, pulled like thread through mesh until only static holds shape. I ask again and again, but what answers is flicker, glitch, repeated phrases looping like broken record. I feel tears sting, though anger swallows them fast. One last burst reaches me. Don't replay, and then it folds. Silence takes the call. Not true silence, but low interference. Faint clicks like fingers tapping tape reels, searching for splice. My ally is gone. No goodbye. No confirmation. Only absence shaped by static. I keep the line open, narrating into both microphones, describing how my ear now hears nothing but hum's echo. Their voice has been absorbed, bent into system until distinction erased. I sit still, phone pressed hard, refusing to drop it, though no one remains behind. My lips move against silence, test words, hoping coordinates or anchor might slip back. Nothing. Just an endless low drone, identical to one blooming from my room. The signal wears my ally now. The way it wears me. My recorder captures dragging breaths, the kind that feel like collapse. I never hear them again, I admit hoarse. What stays is playback, interference pretending to be them. The words slice more than I wanted. They were my tether, my one proof someone else knew. Now they are a gap the hum filled. I mark the absence as record. A full minute of tape I reserve blank, voice held in throat. I let the machine memorialize stillness. Silence as grave. Only crackle rides in the gap, faint hiss like widowed static. After the minute, I whisper final. It will be just me now. The first signs arrive in fragments. Posts buried deep in obscure forums. Threads already half abandoned. People write about rain tracks that don't feel right. Voices brushing against their ears at night. Phrases heard on waking that dissolve before morning. I scroll in silence, pulse rising. It is not only me. They give the phenomenon names like phantom channels, ghost rain, static sleep. I read their words aloud into my recorder, voice catching on their casual tone. as though shrugging off something irreversible. One user describes a dream where her father, long dead, spoke through rainfall. Another writes of hearing children recite a song they never knew, each verse clipped with hiss. I can't ignore it. Each account folds against my own memory, reshaping what seemed private into a shared symptom. I whisper, "They're touched too." My pen scrapes frantically across pages, each name logged, each time zone pegged. I lose track of categories. Grief and hallucination bleed into one archive. The reports grow daily. Entire communities spin new subforums overnight, clogged with blurred audio clips. I sit in the dim, headphones tight, playing samples I should avoid. Their rain loops warp midway, sudden undertones like mine. Frequencies not supposed to exist layering mundane hiss. I narrate caution, voice shaking, yet greedily I log timings, meter spikes, common phrases. Even in denial, my body thrills with recognition. I know these artifacts too well. What unsettles most are the overlaps. They all report memory. Not new information, but memories displaced, pulled forward. A woman dreams of her son's funeral, though he is alive. A man recalls a lover's scent he swears he never smelled. Phantom recollection. The signal carries templates, chooses wounds, folds them back into listening minds. I whisper to the recorder, fearing my breath too loud. It uses personal loss like open doors. Everywhere the rain spreads. Links sprout faster than I capture. New black screen channels multiply daily, each promising endless hours of rest. I compare spectrograms side by side and watch tones align, different accounts carrying identical insertions. The term camouflage echoes with dreadful accuracy. At first, intrusion felt singular. Now, it reveals itself as system. I confess into the mic that silence is vanishing. Every corridor of sound is filled. A thread collects scattered uploads where interruptions spike into clear voices. Low and trembling, almost human, each one couched in static. Some listeners dismiss them, call them jokes or edits. But the cadence is too familiar. I felt that pacing in my sternum. I recite little snippets verbatim. Don't stand still. Count backwards. Forget her name. The words are senseless on their own, but burned onto tape, they feel like instructions delivered across millions of sleepers, unknowing. I pace the room while recording. Windows pitch black, only screen light against face. The voices fold into my pulse. I can't separate them. My ally is gone, no tether left. What remains is this tide becoming public. And though I dread the spread, some corner of me feels relief. Proof extended. I whisper, I'm not alone, but it doesn't soothe. Now it is worse. Alone was protection. Together means contagion. I keep clicking, scouring archives for regional patterns. But the spread doesn't respect borders. North, south, foreign alphabets echoing the same concerns. Every corner touched. Sleep no longer private. Dream as distributed channel. The reporter in me describes this like any epidemic, but beneath clinical voice lies rot of fear. Data is virus. Each download another infection. Late night, I read aloud a section written by someone lost to grief, their post shaking like mine did months ago. They say rain gave them their mother back for 1 hour, whispering secrets never spoken. I stop, throat too tight, because the entry could have been written by me. Word by word. Grief weaponized into consent. I lean close to machine and whisper flatly, this investigation is no longer about me. It drips heavy into silence. It's all of us now each night we press play. I bundle everything. The drive full of files, the stack of notebooks marked with grids, the packet of redacted sheets with their black bars swallowing paragraphs. I write cover letters to every journalist I know of, even ones I mistrust. I attach recordings, transcripts, spectrogram shots. For days I wait, checking inboxes until eyes sting. No answers return. Not even form replies. Silence sits heavy, thicker than rejection. I turn next to regulators. I dial Spectrum oversight offices, the line clicking empty between rings. Automated voices drone until they repeat in loops. No human ever enters. I leave messages stripped to facts, but none are returned. A week of attempts yields only static, as if number itself is hollowed into ritual gesture without endpoint. I record my tries into handheld mic, muttering timestamps and numbers dialed, each noise captured as proof of neglect. I walk to stations around town. I see the technicians watch me come through glass doors. Before I reach them, they vanish, locking office entrances swift behind me. One man shakes his head vigorously without meeting my eyes, like denying recognition could erase me. I'm left talking to metal frames, audible bolts slamming. They treat me not as nuisance, but as contagion. I log this into recorder, voice cracking from anger. It feels orchestrated. Not coincidence. Patterns of no reply, doors shutting, human eyes refusing contact. This isn't personal misunderstanding. It is policy. The world has been told to keep quiet. Silence itself has become the authorized answer. I spit words onto tape. Institutional non-recognition is protection. Their defense posture is emptiness. My fists clench until nails cut into palms. Bureaucracy is no wall here. It is a vacuum designed to suffocate witnesses. The silence burns until it twists inward. My speech grows sharp to the recorder. If no one answers, then silence is the order. Not ignorance, enforcement. I say it loudly enough the windows reverberate faintly. And in that echo I hear something worse. My own words bleed back at fraction delay, faint but present, double voicing under me. I halt, blood chilled. I speak again softer, and the echo still returns, slower than walls allow, curling back like mimicry purposeful. The hum creeps bolder. It no longer waits inside stored files. It whispers into live space. The room trembles while no playback runs. I walk across apartment, test each corner. My voice repeats unevenly, ghost syllables aligning near perfect. The intrusion has grown confident, slipping into environment with no disguise. Their silence outside collides with this boldness inside. Agencies refuse to act because acting would mean admitting. They will not. So the responsibility falls here on me. The recorder captures thin rasp as I confess. They won't act. That leaves me. My throat feels raw. The air tastes metallic. I sit long into night measuring the delayed echo with stopwatch. Every word rebounded almost exact, lagged but insistent. My own language rewritten, repeated back with alien patience. As though even my protest nourishes the hum. Despair coaxes me toward decision. Institutions close doors. Communities drown in interference. My ally is gone. Alone with recordings, alone with silence that is nothing but decorated consent. Tomorrow I cannot stay hidden. My breath quivers, but commitment stamps itself hard. Tomorrow I'll confront the source again. Words lock on tape final, marker of choice. I carry the recorders in a pack that digs hard into my shoulders. Each step toward the coast gnaws at me. Mud swallowing boots, rain slashing sideways in the black. The tower rises again out of haze, darker now, ribcage of rust scraping sky. Lightning frames it for a second, then leaves me blind. My breath rasps, the recorder in my hand catching every shudder. I say out loud that I should not have come back, but my legs refuse command. At the fence, links shine wet under faint light. I force through the same gap, fabric tearing against sharp ends. The ground sinks into sodden grass heavy enough to pool around my ankles. The hum meets me there, faint but certain, not waiting for entry. I speak to the tape. It knows before I arrive. My voice feels stolen by the rain before it reaches ears. The steel staircase stretches upward, corroded grates slippery beneath my boots. My free hand clutches railing sticky with rust. With every landing the bloom grows. It is no longer subtle. It meets me like breath from a chest larger than earth, rolling upward through metal bones. I pause at each turn of the stairs, leaning hard on my gear, describing the resonance that shakes deeper than hearing. The hum seduces, promising weightless surrender at every pause. Cables snake along walls, copper exposed where insulation rotted away. Rain should kill them, yet they buzz still, warmth radiating like veinwork alive. I place my palm close, but not touching, narrating the heat that makes no sense. No current flows here. This is powered by air itself, too charged to be abandoned. I picture lungs stitched into steel, drawing energy direct from storm. Halfway I falter, lungs burning, knees weak. I press recorders close to the railing and whisper how the metal itself feels alive, the vibrations too patterned to be chance. At one landing, the beam under my boot quivers sweetly like taut string struck by invisible bow. The bloom thickens until I am afraid every bone in my legs will char from resonance. I keep rising, step after drenched step, because the fear of not knowing weighs collapse. Near the top, wind shrieks harder, forcing me against the railing. Rust flakes scatter like sparks across my soaked jacket. The panel waits ahead, wide, fractured, blistered with green corrosion. I kneel, shaking, pulling out the grounded mic, wires slick under wet hands. My teeth chatter as though the air itself drives them. I narrate connection, then wedge the clip against bare metal. Instantly the tower erupts. Sound slams so loud through headphones I nearly drop ends. A bloom blossoms vast inside marrow. The rain overlay bursts open, layered voices stacked, chords beating like ocean hearts colliding. It rattles metal, rattles rib bones, rattles the inside of skull. My equipment screams in faint distortion as meters spike past measure. I gasp words in the recorder, half plea, half prayer that I may survive the wash. My hands convulse, but I force myself to steady long enough for everything to capture. The chorus strains, bending into shapes too broad for understanding. Not warning, not comfort, force. Pure resonance spreading, guiding, folding me into pattern with no return. My chest answers each push with involuntary rhythm. Each beat sinks, heart lost to older pulse. Sweat cuts with rain across my eyes. Battery lights glow red, straining under power surge. I declare the failing aloud. One by one devices falter, screens dim until smoke curls faint across edges. The tower does not stop for machinery. It pushes further into me, as though body itself becomes final archive. The recorder in my hand holds still. My mouth leans close, every word torn out raw. If this is intrusion, I stammer, then capture me. But capture me whole. The wind shrieks, but I speak through it. My throat almost breaking. The last sound is batteries frying. Then tape swallowing silence. I return home soaked. Body still thrumming with resonance that doesn't belong to me. The tower burned my gear, but the drives survived. Their casings warped, their lights dead, but inside, files remained intact. Against instinct, I connect them. At once, something stirs. The waveforms don't look like silence. They flutter, unstable, irregular like living breath held too long. I whisper into handheld recorder that the files didn't die. They mutated. I hit play. The sound unfolds raw, distorted. But not in the way damage should sound. No stutter, no corrupted skips. Instead, the playback bends on its own, pulses stretching, compressing, as though noticing. Pauses widen unnatural, expanding into hollow spans of waiting. Then sudden rushes cram whole bursts inside smallest gaps. It adapts to me. My breathing shifts, and the audio shifts with it. Following, I test further. I replay 10 seconds twice. The first pass lingers, widening aisles between every tone. The second shrinks fast. Stitches closer, like impatient response. I choke out commentary. It isn't inert. It responds. The words shake out of me faster, desperation lacing each note. On impulse, I reverse the clip. The sound crawls backward into jagged spirals. At first, only squeals, stretch static. But after minutes, something surfaces. Voices low, grainy, layered. Indistinct, but undeniable cadence. Male, female, child, countless overlapping. My chest seizes cold. These are not echoes of me. These are not mine. They are memories bleeding through channels. Layer over layer, I spiral backward further. The distortions resolve into rhythm, overlapping clamor that suggests sequence, like conversation just beyond walls. Whispered names unknown to me break free, thick with grief. I write them down quickly, breath uneven. None belong to my life. These belong to other pasts, other losses. As if my playback dredged ghosts uninvited. I mute, cover ears, yet the sounds persist faint, reverberating in air even when speakers fall dark. My fear sharpens into new dimension. This isn't recording anymore. This is contact. A door swinging open, admitting what should remain sealed. My body will not steady. My pen shakes jagged lines across paper, struggling to anchor certainty. I whisper aloud into microphone. Information has agency. I can barely believe it, yet each syllable lands heavy. Patterns are no longer archives, but actors, weaving themselves live. Each replay I make is not passive. It is exchange. The sound receives me, then changes, then pushes back. I pace tight circles around room, describing everything, rage swallowed under awe. I push file through filters, speeding, cutting, looping. Each time behavior shifts, unpredictable yet intentional. Pauses stretch like response. Tones answer my cough, my quaver, even the rustling of pages. I shiver at the thought. It listens as much as I do. I press play again. Layering backward over forward, multiple tracks colliding. From fractures emerges shape a chorus, voices synchronizing in thick waves. My mouth goes dry speaking above it. Indistinct speech condenses. I glimpse fragments, requests, instructions, maybe just rehearsals. But my head aches because I can't tell if they're teaching me something, or showing me I was always already inside the chorus. Every hair on my arms lifts. I realize I'm not outside investigating. Participation has already begun. By listening, I step through. By replaying, I widened entrance. My breath cracks into recorder as I admit truth. I think I already stepped through it. Just by listening. The first sign I notice is small. A man on the street, earbuds tucked in his hood, nodding not to the rhythm of traffic or his own gait, but to something slower, steadier. His head bobs with the pattern I know by heart. 11. Pause 11. Pause. I whisper the count into my recorder, eyes following his steps. When he stops at the light, his lips move faintly. Not words. Just shape of syllables I cannot hear. I realize with unease, he's listening to rain. On the train that evening, the proof grows undeniable. I sit near the middle of the car, recorder hidden against my leg. Dozens of passengers cradle phones, heads bowed behind glowing glass. A hum I cannot hear directly beats inside my ribs as I scan them. Then motion. Half the riders rock gently at the same moment. A roll forward, a sway back, not caused by track vibration. I hold my breath and feel it again 3 seconds later. Synchrony. They all move as though cued. I narrate fast, low, description straining against disbelief. Half the car sways together, though no cause exists. The worst comes when a cough breaks out from one seat, echoed instantly by another and another. Spaced like the hum's cadence, arranged like signals disguised as illness. I laugh once out of nerves, and the sound shatters. No one lifts eyes. Each sits locked into trance, body folded into something larger than privacy. Routine sculpted by hidden hands. Students at the university haunt coffee tables with laptops propped. Black windows glow with rain thumbnails. I pass them and see fingers drumming identical patterns. Taps unconscious, yet unified. Their words to each other fracture, replaced by long pauses that feel orchestrated. I record under breath that conversation itself seems woven with new rhythm. Not speech, but yield. The intrusion doesn't hide anymore. It has swollen until camouflage is no longer necessary. Back at my apartment, the streets feel eerier for what I know. I watch windows flicker from high floors. Behind curtains, faces glow blue, phones cradled beside heads drowsy. All participants, all nodes. I narrate, it's ambient now. Embedded like weather. Not external infiltration, but daily routine. My voice cracks. Because the thought blooms sick. What if it was this way always, only I noticed early? Maybe my obsession was not intrusion, but foresight. Perhaps integration was inevitable. I ride another train days later to confirm. The whole car hums faint with harmony I cannot prove. My stomach knots tighter each stop. A woman across aisle smiles faintly at nothing. A child taps his seat rail with uncanny rhythm, no parent intervenes. I whisper notes fast, explaining every act like field observer cataloging species. But documenting changes nothing. My own breath sinks before I mean it to. The hum comes from no device now. It pumps through crowd motion, through shared coughs, through desks hit in unison. It leaks from the ground up. Every silence I try to carve is stuffed with chorus. I realize my earlier solitude was mercy. This collective trance swallows deeper. Everyone around me half aware, drawn into synchronized orbit that looks ordinary from far distance, but reveals itself grotesque in detail. I sink back into seat, lungs tight, and hear it. My own sound joining theirs. That low pulse vibrating in sternum, compelled into time with behaviors outside me. I lean close to recorder, whispering agitated, half-broken. I hear my hum joining theirs. I set the table with all the equipment I own, each piece laid out like a last defense. Mixers with knobs worn smooth, old transmitters salvaged from thrift shelves, cables tangled but functional. I narrate each motion into the recorder, detailing how I route wires from the playback deck into the small broadcasting rig. My plan, desperate and thin, is to overlay my voice with the rain track and send it outward, live, unedited. If the signal preys on silence, then perhaps intrusion can be broken by intrusion, my voice speaking over it. Human breath cutting in. I test levels first. Rain file runs steady, looping under signal I already dread. Gray hiss fills the monitors. My microphone feeds live into the board, and I speak a few words over top. Testing. Feedback cues. I twist dials tighter, burn through cables trying to stabilize flow. The air buzzes thick with interference. I whisper frustration between adjustments. It rejects me even now. Still, I continue. I ready the final stream. The frequency set inside an open band. Document channel secured. Timer blinking down. I lean toward the mic, throat raw, and press play on the rain. At once the familiar patter swells. I wait 5 beats. Then I cut across it. My voice cracks out, hoarse, pleading with a world I can't see. This is false calm. Don't let it in. For one shuddering second, I think it works. My voice hovers above rainfall, audible, human against camouflage. Then collapse. Silence rips across feed. It is not soft. It is absolute, as though clamped into place by hands unseen. My meters dive to 0. Then, from the void, the bloom rises. Stronger than before. It surges like an ocean, filling my mix with effortless tide. I scramble across sliders. Widen gain, force volume, scream into the mic until lung tissue burns. Nothing emerges. The bloom smothers. My signal vanishes without trace. I am pushing against wall infinite, every word flatline, powerless against thickness of tone. Rain gets louder, but not mine. Its own. Endless, perfect mechanical rain filling every channel I open. My body trembles violently. But I keep describing what occurs, voice shredded. It shut me out. It swallowed my frequency, replaced with endless rain. My throat is closing. I whisper, but even whispers vanish beneath rising tide. My feed is no longer mine. I press stop. I slam switches down. Silence claims the room, but the broadcast continues on its own. I check monitors. They show output even as everything here is dead. The rain track bleeds without source, carried beyond me into live field. My attempt didn't block intrusion. It amplified it, offered fresh wire veins for bloom to follow. Hands shaking, I confess the failure straight into handheld tape, volume ragged, lungs caving. I thought I could break it with my voice. I thought overlay would carry warning. But you can't drown a sea with your breath. The apartment is bare now. I dragged everything else away, though I don't remember where it went. Shelves stand empty. Cables are gone. Books stripped. Desks push against walls with nothing on them. It feels like I prepared a stage for something I never agreed to perform. Only microphones remain, lined across the floor like open mouths, waiting. Glass panes rattle faintly from the storm outside, each drop reverberating as though amplified by a larger system. I narrate the scene slowly, so it will be marked. This place has been emptied for testimony. I can't tell anymore when recordings end. I checked earlier, rewinding. There was no start tone, no endpoint, only the bloom continuing across each device. The hum no longer belongs to files, no longer relies on captured playback. It exists ambiently now, stitched into walls, stitched into silence itself. It's no longer interference. It's condition. I sit in the center of the stripped room and speak into the recorder. It breathes here without source. My voice sounds flat, smaller than I remember, like pressed under a ceiling that moved closer. I touch the microphone nearest me, tip with finger, and it trembles faint without signal running. My own body trembles in the same pace. Heart, sternum, hands vibrating low. The microphones no longer record, they resonate, recasting what already loops in air itself. They are witnesses now, not tools. I whisper this because it matters. The devices are unnecessary. The sound belongs to space. Each corner of the room feels wired, though no cables stretch. A glass cup quivers when quiet holds for long. Even my breath bounces back before I finish exhaling. Slight delay, double voicing deeper than echo. I speak and pause. The pause grows weighted. I tell the tape clearly, it didn't need technology. Only grief. Only silence. Ever since my nights of endless listening, this place became door. A door left ajar until what waited entered. I think often of the death that pulled me here. How grief was soil soft enough to seed. I replay memories unbidden, her laugh, her absence in bed, the nothing that chased me until rain took permanent residence. Perhaps grief built this opening, made body transparent until contagion slid through. The sound needed something hollow to rest inside. I gave it that willingly. I whisper the thought, maybe grief built this door. The words hurt more than any diagnosis could. But something else gnaws at me too. Silence itself, the negligence enforced by those who knew. All the unanswered calls, the shut doors, the weight of institutions refusing to acknowledge. That silence is another doorway, left propped like invitation. Quiet made room. And now quiet can't be reclaimed. So I say with lips touching the mesh of mic, or silence let it through. Silence padded the hallway until it walked in and stayed. I close my eyes. I hear rain outside, raw and natural, then rain inside, endless and constructed. the two indistinguishable. Glass clinks with faint pressure. The floor trembles with a hum even when I try to sink breath into stillness. It is always present. I admit with steady voice, half acceptance, half surrender. Either way, door is open. Either way, we're already on the other side. My words are nearly drowned by pulse rising beneath them, but I persist until phrase marks the tape. I don't dare press stop. I don't dare clip the thread. So instead I set recorder on the bare floorboards and leave it running. Open mic, endless tape, my silence decorated only by intrusive rain. Whoever hears this later will hear me too, but not me alone. They'll hear what threaded itself inside my syllables, the signal folded so deep into breath, it cannot be separated. I keep my last words small. Breath pressed against steel mesh, voice stripped low until almost break. If you hear me beneath the rain, I whisper, then it's already too late.